Hi everyone, my name is Kelly. I am known as the Heart Teacher and the founder of Heartology. And today I'm joined by the lovely Mary. Mary, welcome to this conversation.
Hello.
It's
Hello.
great to have you here. So, we're just talking about things being a bit weird just now, time and technology, but we are going to have the most beautiful conversation today about one of my very favourite things, silent counselling. This incredible modality that found its way to me a number of years ago now. And I saw so many rapid transformations, not only in my own life, but the life of my clients, that I then went on to become a trainer and a tutor. So I now train trainers as well as practitioners. And I still have, the most incredible clients that work with me. I'm so very, very blessed. And the transformations that they receive is just mind blowing. So, Mary, you trained with me back in, well, you qualified, certified, I should say, back in January 2023. Seems like such a long time ago. I would love to hear a little bit about because you had already been working or thinking about stepping away from your job at the time? Because if I recall this correctly, you were still in a job at that time when you trained with me, but you were starting to venture into other things and to open up your books to work with clients. So I want to take you back actually to that point and what your life was like at that time and why silent counselling spoke to you, why you stepped in to train with me back then.
Yeah, so I think I had actually left my job that I'd been in for a number of years and I was applying for other jobs and I was in between at the time, I think. And so I kind of wanted to do something that felt more aligned to me other than this job I'd been in for since I was 18, 19 years old, so all of my adult life in various locations. And so I left because it wasn't aligning with my mind, my body, and it was starting to talk to me. And well, I didn't realize that it was talking to me. And I just thought I just can't do this anymore. And so I left with no plan B other than getting a job that would interest me, which originally is what I started doing. And then I had a call with a coach, a mentor, and we were having a chat. And I said, "Oh, I wouldn't mind trying to do some sort of." Now, I don't remember if I'd already heard about silent counselling. I think I had, but I have no memory of how I'd even heard of it. I really don't know. But I was telling her about it. Maybe I can do this. And she's like, "Oh, I know somebody who's training in this," and gave me your details. So I thought, yes, this is something I can do. So I booked onto it. And then I started a temporary role in the August, and I was training with you in the September. So it was kind of this dual thing happening. And so I stepped into it because it felt like, I'll be honest, it felt safe in a way because it was like if I train in something, then I've got a qualification and then I can go forward with that. As you know, I've had intuitive abilities for a long, long time, and it was like a little step into that. But it was this first step that I felt like, well, I do like to help people. I've got something I can follow. I don't have to trust myself. I That's how I imagined it. So really it was I didn't know what I was doing, I'll be honest. I just needed to do something. And I felt pulled towards you and you entered my life and that's where it began.
I love this because silent counselling does have this very curious way of finding the right people, as has been my experience. Because I had a conversation with someone before I started training and they mentioned it. My whole body was saying yes. Now, for me, being very clairsentient, that's one of my intuitive abilities. It's when the body says yes before the mind has had a chance to catch up. And so, isn't it amazing that it just finds us and we don't really need to know much about it, but it just calls to us. So I'm so glad, Mary, that you trusted yourself, to leave a job that
Mm.
was no longer serving your greatest and highest good, and really trusting yourself to step into training in a modality that you didn't really know much about.
Yeah.
And you've also touched on a really important point there. You spoke about safety, because so many of us women in particular, and I see this all the time with my client work, is that we have not felt safe in so many respects for eons of time. Women have been, as we know, have been subjected to all sorts of just holding us back. And there has been an agenda behind that for a long, long time. So this is generational and it's ancestral. And we'll circumvent back round to that point, I'm sure, later in the conversation, because this is one of the reasons I so love this modality, because it allows us to free ourselves of these perceptions of still being suppressed and kept down. So the safety, a lot of people talk nowadays about the importance of feeling safe inside, internally, because our mind can play tricks on us. Our mind, our subconscious mind in particular, can speak to us in ways that we're not even conscious of. So it can be old beliefs, it can be old programs that are running, it can be generational beliefs, it can be ancestral stuff. And this modality can get to the root of all of this. So it's such an important point that you've raised about the safety, because we want to feel like we're in alignment with what is calling us, but at the same time, we can really hold ourselves back with so much fear, because what's happened to us over so many lifetimes in our deep cellular memory, we're carrying so much fear. So not only do we have these remunerating thoughts that we may be conscious of, but we've got subconscious programming going on, and we're holding on to a lot of fear in our body. And this is what holds so many women back from stepping into their true power, stepping into living a life that's free and sovereign and truly their own. So you can tell I'm getting really lit up already about this conversation, but I want to honour the fact that you pushed yourself through, even though you didn't know what this was going to look like, you didn't know how this was going to, even though you're intuitive, nobody can really forecast how this is going to go, but we need to trust that first step. So let's just start with then trusting that first step. And you came onto the training, and you certified in January 2023. And I know that you've joined us for refresher training recently as well, which I encourage all of my trainees and practitioners to do. Come and get the refresher training, because more and more and more lands for you. And you also receive the benefits of the techniques as well. So I would love if you could just to share your feelings about the training, because it's only 2 days of online training. That's the commitment, and then we do case studies beyond that. But what was your experience of the training?
Yeah, I really loved it because it felt, I think it was just me and another lady, and it was a safe, held space. And it wasn't like sitting in a classroom as such and just being talked at. It was like a rounded, I felt a part of it. Like I was in it. I wasn't just learning, I was a part of it. That's the only way I can explain it, and to experience it. And, although I was a bit nervous, it was just like, it's hard to explain, it's hard to put words on it. It just felt right, and it just felt natural. It wasn't like I had to learn it here as much as feel it here as I'm going through it. Of course, there's some aspects that you'd need to possibly remember just for flow, but it's not needed in that way. Do you know what I mean? You don't need to do an exam and remember things. So I really like that aspect of it, and just your, not your faith, but it's like you're opening your heart and training us, and just I don't know words to explain it. It's just like nothing that I'd ever done before. And it felt comfortable for me and something authentic and just right, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so simple to learn, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is the whole thing. It's so simple to learn. It's a bit like driving a car because when you first get into a car, and this is the analogy I use in the training, there's lots of different parts to the training. So day one is all about personal use. That's the level one. It's how you can start to apply techniques just for your own use. So you've got that immediately after the first day. And then the second day, if anybody chooses to go into level two, that's practitioner level. Now, when you initially trained, we didn't separate it out as level one and level two. That's been something that we as the Institute of Silent Counselling have come to agreement. As we've sort of seen how this has evolved around the globe with more and more people training, some people don't want to go on to become a practitioner like yourself or like I did. They just want to learn for their own personal use, and that's great because they're going to take away all this benefit too. So after one day, you can learn all of these tools that can help you to free yourself from any kinds of what we perceive to be negative emotions. And then, of course, you can go on and become a practitioner. And all the manuals and all the materials are included in there. And we also have a Facebook support group. I set up right from the start a Facebook support group, which you have been an amazing support, Mary, can I say, as you know. So all the newbies that come in and train with me, you are one of these people that you're just such an amazing advocate for this modality, that you're keen to also see other people succeed with it. And you're always the first person to offer advice or share, or I know that some of you have done quite a bit of sharing in there as well. So you'll do exchanges, you'll do healing exchanges for each other. And that's been really beautiful to see that unfold, beyond even the training as well. So I would love to hear about, first of all, how has silent counselling changed your life, Mary? What impact has it had on you personally? And we don't need to go into any sort of personal stories if you're not happy to go there, but how has it transformed and shifted some of your reality?
Yeah, I think it definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone because obviously we had to do case studies, and I had never officially helped someone in that way. I was always like, oh, I'll do some readings, or I've got an intuitive message for you. But never like that. Oh, they're in front of me. This is real. And so that was good. And some of my case studies, some of them were people I knew, and I pushed myself out of my comfort zone again by looking for people I didn't know because I needed that balance. And so it changed the way, because I, as a person, would always hold back, or I'd say, oh, I want to do that, but then go, oh, no, I can't. Pull out last minute, or unless literally somebody's pushed me onto the stage kind of thing. So I was determined to get the certification, not knowing where it would take me, but I really wanted to do that. So that I pushed myself further than I thought I would. And when I got my certification, I was so elated. And my plan was to just put it out there. But of course, I was a little bit naive. I mean, the hope was there, but it was like, oh, I actually don't know what I'm doing from here. And I'd got a temporary job at this point, and my plan was to do a bit of both, cut down the hours. And I was just stuck. And I was like, what? Something I had blocked my own blocks that I hadn't dealt with. And of course, I had this amazing modality that I could use for myself. But I don't think I had the awareness enough even then to just push myself through. So it kind of all broke down a bit again, like in the previous role, but it just showed me that that wasn't my path anymore. And I've
So
got to get out there.
and how does silent counselling, the techniques help you to push through with the confidence that you lacked at that point? Were there techniques that you were using yourself to bring you
Yeah,
head and down into your body?
I was definitely doing like the breathing, the collarbone breathing, um, or just the point under the nose, the side of the hand. But I don't think I was using it at that time a lot. But it's only after I left that role and I spent a lot of time by myself, even though I knew what it felt like to have had silent counseling sessions with one of the other lovely ladies that has trained. And so I knew the benefit of that. But it was almost like I didn't compute that I could do this for myself. So I would do it here and there. But as time progressed and as I realized I wanted to go this route and not back to a 9 to 5, I was using it more and more, um, and offering it, family and friends, any chance I got. But then for me personally, I've had some incredible results for myself. But sometimes it depends on the depth of it, whether you need to be held by somebody else. So it just depends on the situation, really. But it definitely helped me, well, yeah, know that I could access that at any point. I didn't have to think, oh, I can't do anything about it, and then wait for somebody, like a practitioner or doing a swap, or I could just do those things. And so, yeah, that changed. It's like brain retraining, isn't it? It's like I've got something here that I can use. I don't have to just
Yeah,
deal with it and just,
yeah.
yeah.
And this is the wonderful thing about it, that we have these self-help techniques that we can use. It's just remembering to use them. And so what you're describing is that you'd also reached out to others within the group who could then facilitate some sessions for you. And that was the exchanges that you had, which can help each other, which is also a benefit of having this beautiful Facebook support group, so we can support each other even now, years
Yeah.
beyond actually doing the initial training. So I wonder, what has been some of the most amazing results that you've witnessed in some of your own clients and your own work that you do? Because silent counselling has become part of the services that you offer others in your own business now, because you broke through that confidence barrier. You've now
Mhm.
got to the point where you have set up this beautiful business. And I know that it's not just silent counselling that you offer, but silent counselling has become a big part of the work that you do. So I would love for us to hear, obviously respecting the confidentiality
Yeah.
of clients, but let's talk about some of the most amazing transformations that you've personally witnessed in some of your clients.
Yeah. So, I mean, having recapped and gone back through my mind before this conversation, because I didn't realize quite how many people I've actually worked with when I looked back. And I think when working with this lady, she was struggling with a bit of grief. Um, I don't think it'd been long since a relative had passed away, her dad had passed away, and she just wanted some help. And so it's important to know we're not getting rid of her grief or taking it all away in the sense that she's not gonna feel it anymore. I think it's just, what do I do with this? And so we had a couple of sessions, and one of the things I remember is during the visualization meditation after all the releasing, I took her on a journey on a boat in the sea, and there was this dolphin with this jewel. And I said, this dolphin mirrors, the jewel mirrors the emotions that you have here. And so you can put them there if you're not ready to unpack everything. And she left it there, but as a gift, it can stay with the spirit of my dad at this time. And she felt so much more like, okay, cope. And I think it's the day to day, the intensity of it maybe had lessened, but it just allowed her to get on. And the most amazing thing about this is, yes, that was amazing at the time. Nearly 3 years later, I had a voice note from her where she had decided to meditate that day and decide to, right, I'm ready to unpack this now. She had remembered the visualization. She remembered there was a jewel, things that I may not have remembered, that she went back and she was ready, right, I'm ready to hold this now and transmute it. And that was the beginning of her journey of grief and all the emotions linked in um, with her father. So I was just blown away that like years later, I was like, I couldn't believe it. It was astounding, really. And you don't really think about the impact that you might have years later from a couple of sessions. And so to never underestimate the power of it. Like if you think, oh yeah, that was nice and I feel a bit better, sometimes it might not be immediate. Um, I sense that as a practitioner, I probably work on way deeper levels, layers that it might not see or understand at the time, and then it's ready when it's ready. So it's almost like setting it up, if that makes sense. So that, yeah, that really made it blew me away, honestly. Yeah, but that was
Beautiful. I'm
amazing.
glad that you've mentioned grief as well, Mary, because it's something that none of us can escape in this life. It's part of the cycle of life, the circle of life. It's the life death circle that we all will experience. And grief can bring up so many emotions for people. And so they may be coming to you because they're feeling, what they would describe as deep grief. And what we never assume with silent counselling is that that's actually the root cause. So someone's death may have triggered a lot of unresolved emotions that have been suppressed and tucked away for so, so long. And often what can come along with grief is guilt as well. And what is so beautiful about this, she spoke about, I helped her with the releasing. So for those people that are watching this conversation, maybe don't know what we mean when we say that, what we do is we guide practitioners through a number of different, well, we use a diagnostic element, we use muscle testing to diagnose the root cause. So we diagnose the time frame from the original root of these emotions being stuck in the body. And then we diagnose where they're being stored in the meridian system of the body. So once we have that information, we can then utilize the divine intelligence of the body because the body knows exactly what to do. So what we're doing as practitioners is we're just guiding the steps and your client is doing all the releasing themselves. And we use different techniques, such as you mentioned collarbone breathing earlier, Mary. Collarbone breathing is an amazing technique where we can bring somebody out of that busy thought field where we're having remunerating thoughts and down into our body, our feeling body. And a lot of people struggle with feeling the emotions in the body because we try and evacuate ourselves out of there by either self-medicating, taking medications, just, right, need to just brush myself down and go on today. And then another bit of stress hits us because we lead fast, busy, stressful lives. So what can happen is we can have a compounding effect of a lot of emotions that we are carrying around with us that we're not allowing to be discharged from the body. We're not allowing them to be released. So we're just storing all of these emotions, and then boom, we get hit with something big like the loss of a family member or, a big change in our life or circumstances. And then it's got to come out, hasn't it? And we want it to come out in a safe way. And so the space that I know that you will hold will be done so delicately and so gently, guiding people to release using techniques such as touch and acupressure. So we have emotional location points that we map on the meridian system, and then releasing your client to let go of some of these emotions. And the other point that you raised is releasing what she was ready to release at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's such an important thing. It's like we can't force somebody to let go of anything they're not ready to let go of. So the client is always in control of that session. And then what's really beautiful is that she's contacted you 3 years later to say, gosh, I remember how that whole session ended with this beautiful meditation. And that was something really tangible that she could go back and revisit and release some more. So it's this beautiful ripple effect that it creates, and it's to empower people, it's to liberate people from these stuck stagnant emotions that they may be carrying for a long time. So what a beautiful, beautiful example of somebody, really understanding that grief is a process. There's lots of emotions underneath all of that grieving process. And to come back to you to say, gosh, I remember that moment being so beautiful. And I'm ready now. I'm ready to release that and let it go. Some people will be ready immediately, others not. And this is where silent counselling can meet people where they're at. I wonder if you've got any other examples. I mean, I remember reading your case studies and just being blown away because it was big things that people were coming to you with. You were challenged like right from the get-go. It wasn't just little things. Like you had case study clients queuing up with big things going on in their life. I mean, grief's one of them, but
Yeah.
what other clients have you remembered over the last few years that have been big transformations, big shifts for them?
Yeah. So big, I mean, like you said, you meet people where they're at. So depending on their journey, what you help with, what you help them with can help them for a week, a few days. You're helping them, you're opening it for them to heal. And so I wouldn't say it was a massive transformation overall, but none of these things are pointless, do you know what I mean? And I worked with somebody quite close to me who was struggling with depression, anxiety, panic attacks, possible suicidal ideation. And we did 3 sessions over a course of maybe 4, 6 weeks. And their first session, they had a profound experience that was unique to them. Um, we did the releasing like you just described. And when I went into the meditation, they said afterwards that they felt or heard my voice frequency change, which is a funny word to use for somebody who's not so on that level of, the universe, the cosmos, and frequency and energies and stuff like that. And they saw this green light and they thought I was shining a light in their face. They quickly opened their eyes and realized, no, I wasn't doing that. And they saw this green light and then the face of their deceased father there, which blew them away. It was a spiritual experience. But after that, they suddenly realized, oh, I think I'll be okay. It was worrying about the future, what's going to happen. And they just felt, you know what, it's going to be okay. And we did a few more sessions, did a few different things to do with, I can't remember properly now, maybe just working through. But I think that first session was so powerful that in that moment it allowed them to feel safe and it will be okay. Um, we worked where collarbone breathing did its job in such an amazing way. One day they were really struggling. They were almost at the point of a panic attack or an anxiety attack. Everything was too much. And all I could think of to do was that, right, let's do this collarbone breathing. We need to bring you down. And we did it. And they were like, oh, It's complete change. It was almost like, oh, danger's been averted. It felt like that, because it could have easily spiraled into something more. And it's just the power of just that simple 10 minutes where you focus on touch and breathing, and it just allows you to come away from here right into your body, and your body just to like get back to where it needs to be, that homeostasis. And I'll never forget the power of that, in acute circumstances or acute emotional places. And so their journey is still ongoing. But I know that they are in a much better place than they were. And I've got to hope that those sessions is still with them in some way, even if they're is far behind in their mind now. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it's truly powerful, whether you see something immediately change afterwards or whether you see it years later. None of it is wasted. None of it is not working. It does work on some level, and it relies on the client. You meet them where they're at. You can only do so much. And I just want to share the honesty of that and that's, yeah, because I don't
Yeah.
know what else to say now.
Yeah, it's
I
beautiful
do, but
because we know that we have a significant mental health crisis in this country, particularly with males. And I've spoken about this in a previous podcast that I used to have. It was called The Soul Call with Kelly B. And I did a couple of podcast episodes around this whole it's not a lack of acknowledgement. I think we all are aware, and I'm talking about at a societal and governmental level that we have a mental health crisis, and a lot of people are leading extremely busy lives, feeling overwhelmed. But what we aren't seeing is a lot of action being taken in order to address these issues. And it's something that, really resonates with me very personally because having suffered from severe depression, several times in my life, three significant times in my life, and having lost friends to suicide, having seen even up till very recently, a friend of ours being taken into a psychiatric ward, and is now on heavy lithium medications. We know that this is happening in our society, but I get really, really upset that we're not doing enough to support people. And this can come out of nowhere. And of course, in the training, I explain that it's not come out of nowhere. We'll go into that more deeply because what we have is we have a lot of unresolved emotions that we're carrying that aren't even our own. So much of this has been carried through the ancestral line, it's been carried down generations. And so our cells are holding on to a lot of emotion that isn't even ours. So when we add in our own on top of that, then our systems can become really, really toxic. And when I say toxic, I'm talking about toxic stress. And any kind of stress in our body, whether it's what we consume, whether it's what we watch, what we listen to, what we feed ourselves, what we're drinking, how we're maybe supplementing, medicating ourselves. And then we live in this technological age where we've been bombarded by Wi-Fi, radio waves, microwaves. We are constantly being just bombarded with a lot of toxic frequencies. And so our bodies, our very sensitive bodies, can become very overwhelmed. And so when something comes along, especially men who want to provide, want to be strong, and want to protect and want to give, they feel weakened because they are carrying so much toxic stress. And so and this is true for women as well, because women have, been programmed to be independent and strong and do all the things, which is great. But if we're starting to go into survival mode for a long time, that is high cortisol that's running in the body. And this is a high level of toxic stress. And so we get to a stage where our body just becomes so overworked, so stressed, so toxic that we start to feel depressed. We start to experience panic attacks. We start to look for ways to self-soothe ourselves and self-medicate ourselves. And some of those habits then can become quite unhealthy, whether it's food, alcohol, medication, whatever, watching Netflix for 3, 4 hours every night. And I'm not dissing any of that because there is a place for all of it. And as you've rightly pointed out a few times in this conversation, Mary, you meet people where they're at. There is no judgment. We are all trying our best as individuals. And what's so incredible about this modality, and this is why I'm having these conversations, is it's almost like it's the best kept secret because
Mhm.
we have, you know, and there's no such thing as a golden pill, but we do have modalities like silent counselling that are giving people hope again, that are taking people out of victimhood and feeling helpless back to living a life that feels worth living again, that they are feeling more free because their toxic load has been reduced. We've discharged some of these negative emotions so they can actually start to feel like, gosh, I feel better. I feel clearer in my thinking. I feel like a burden's been taken off of my shoulders. Do you know, it's bringing back ourselves into not just a state of homeostasis, but into a state of aliveness again. And this is what I absolutely love too. You'd mentioned about that beautiful experience that that client had during the meditation at the end. And by the way, I want to mention here again, and I say this in the training, we don't have to be always having meditations at the end. Mary and I love to do a meditation, so we finish our sessions with a short meditation, but we don't have to have meditation in there in order for this to work. I prefer to have it, and when I train people like yourself, Mary, I really do speak about how amazing it can be at the end. And what amazes me is when people say, clients will come and say, oh, but I can't meditate. You'll say, well, you've never done it this way before. And the reason they've not been able to meditate before is because they are up here and they're stressed. So we get them to a place in one session where they are feeling calm enough that they can actually be with the experience of the meditation. And then it blows their brains when they're actually seeing things and thinking, there's maybe shining a light here. What's
Yeah.
going on? Because they've not been able to access this since maybe they were a child. They've forgotten what it's like to be in that state of bliss. And what we're actually doing is when we have people in such a calm state, we're taking them into the theta brainwaves. So there's science behind all of this. It's not just all woo-woo, do you know? We've got them into a theta brain state, which is what we're not hypnotizing anybody, but it's what hypnotists do. They get people into a theta state where it's the deeper brain waves that are suggestive. And so when we're in that realm, people are relaxed, they're calm, they're breathing deeper, and they're having an experience that feels realer than a real thing. Yeah, it's like on the training, I'll say to people, can you close your eyes? I want you to imagine that you're holding an orange. Imagine that you're holding an orange. You're not actually holding an orange. I want you to bring that orange under your nose. I want you to take a sniff of that orange. Then I want you to take a big bite out of that juicy orange. And what starts to happen, I'm even doing it now, is people start to salivate.
Yeah.
So you're suggesting to the mind that this is happening. Your mind doesn't know that that's not happening. It's real. And that's why I say realer than a real thing. And when we're in the dream state at night, you know, where is our mind? Where do we go? So this is in the awakened state. We're still accessing these deeper brain waves that are suggestive. And then we're allowing people to connect to parts of themselves that they can't access when they're toxic, and when they're highly stressed, and when they're in a state of overwhelm or deep grief. And so what then happens is they start to feel like, oh my God, I have had this incredible experience. I've let go of all of that, like horrible weight that was following me around, that I've been carrying around, all of these heavy negative emotions. I can now feel these light emotions again. It's like, what is this? It's almost euphoric for some people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for some people, that'll stay a long time. So, like you said, Mary, it can stay for weeks, months, sometimes for people indefinitely. Who knows how long these results last for? But certainly, what we're seeing, evidence with silent counselling, is that they have an impact, and quite a profound one at that. And I've had so many conversations with not only my own clients, but people that I've trained who are telling the same stories that you are. You know, that people are no longer experiencing suicidal ideation, they're moving into a state of freedom again. So they're no longer the victim of their life, and life is trying to, it's coming after me and I'm not coping, to being the victor of their life and feeling that they can live a life that's free and wonderful. So thank you so much for sharing that. Is there anything else that you would like to share, Mary, about this incredible modality? Has there been any other examples or anything that you're experiencing at present with it?
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely helped me when I've used it on myself, struggling with a form of anxiety called relationship OCD, which nobody's ever heard of, but I'm glad it's something that has a name because I thought I was going crazy when I first figured out I had it. And I had a flare up of this. I don't want to go into look it up if you want to know what it is. I'm not going to go into it on here. But I did one session on myself and it went down 80%, just enough to give my brain a break, the panic a break. It was still there, but I could function. And then I waited a week and I did another session and it went completely gone, just gone. And it was such a relief because it's not nice. And so that I did for myself. Um, I've had a session when I had a speech coming up. I was best woman at a family member's wedding and I had to do a speech. And I had this shyness since I was very young. I wouldn't talk, I wouldn't open my mouth at the dentist. I was painfully shy. Obviously, over the years, I got a bit better, but I thought, I don't want to mess this up. I want to be there feeling calm and okay. And so I exchanged sessions with a lovely lady. Um, and yeah, she held space for me so lovingly. And where we went to, we got to the root cause of where it all began. I don't mind talking about it. We can talk about it in the session, but you don't have to, as you know. We don't have to do that. But as a child in infant school when I was about 5, teachers and figures of authority would call me out in front of the class all the time and put me on the spot and said, you've done this wrong, you've done that wrong. Maybe to show the other kids what not to do. But they were things, innocent things that as a child I didn't do on purpose, you know? And so that shame of being all eyes on me and stuff like that. And the practitioner, she held space for me in such a maternal, loving way. I said, this isn't your fault. And it's okay, you're here. And I could see my inner child, give her a hug, let go of all of that into the sea, just watch it all go. And I think what's important to say as well with healing, or after these sessions, you can go through a period of the purging of emotions, like little physical ailments. I think I had a rash come up on my chin or something, and I had to go to the toilet like 4 times in an hour as it was fleshing out of my system. And so that was good because I'd never really dealt with it. And it's good to let it out in whatever form that works for you. But for me, it was a good old cry on the sofa. And yeah, I felt so much better. And when it came to doing the speech, I felt okay. I didn't feel panicky. Um, I'd stopped drinking at this time, so I had no alcohol to help at this point. So I just remember feeling nervous because, all eyes are on you. But as soon as I stood up, it felt like that little inner child integrated into me. It was just like this feeling. And I stood there and it was fine. And I did it. And there were people in the table here in front. So I think some of those were at school with me when I was 5. So it was just a real moment. And yeah, I had people coming up to me saying, "Oh, wow, that was amazing." And I'm thinking, "Oh, was it?" You're just talking, but you don't know how it looks to other people. And so, yeah, to not feel any fear or panic or that wanting to run away was amazing. I just didn't have that. It had gone completely. And that part of my inner child is still completely integrated. I mean, yeah, I can still look back at it and feel sad, but she's been seen and she's been held and she's been told that this wasn't you.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was an amazing personal experience for me. Yeah.
Amazing. And this is the thing, we don't realize how deeply these wounds can go, and we can carry them for such a long time. And what's so beautiful about silent counselling is that we don't need to work it out with the mind. So, irrespective of how much of the story you want to share, some people come in and say very little, some people say a lot. Um, it works anyway because we're working with the divine intelligence of the body and we're muscle testing, and the practitioner that held space for you in that energy exchange, we're a muscle tested to diagnose what time frame. It takes minutes, in fact seconds, and then diagnose where these emotions were stuck in the body. And sometimes what can happen is you can start to recall memories and you think, oh gosh, actually, now that I know what time frame this is, I can now pinpoint where this stems from. And, for some people that won't happen because it may be from past life, or some people prefer to call it deep cellular memory. So we don't always have like the tangible evidence of what the root cause is, but that's not important. The important bit is we diagnose when, we diagnose where the emotions are stuck, and then we release them through these powerful techniques, the breathing, the acupressure, and then we do a few other things throughout the session as well, so that you feel that you can finally let these go, to the point where then, I love that full circle moment for you, where, and I hope you celebrated yourself afterwards for standing up and being able to share a speech at a fairly emotional time. Yeah, a wedding's always pretty emotional, and you feel all eyes on you, and you feel the responsibility to do well, right, on behalf of the wedding couple and the party that are there. But to have some of your old school friends there to witness that moment is just such a beautiful thing, to realize how far you've come and that this is gone now. It's no longer such a big emotional trigger for you because you've discharged the emotions. So there may still be a bit of like nervousness there, but it's not such a big hold on you that you can actually now go forward and do this.
Yeah, exactly that.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Now, I did mention a short while ago that you had lots of big things. I remember in your case studies, you had not only grief, but you had somebody who was self-harming, you had somebody who was in a lot of anxiety and overwhelm. You mentioned somebody had, potentially suicidal ideation and things as well. So you were really thrown in and not perturbed by that, So that shows me like how much confidence you have in and trust in this modality, and moving yourself into, okay, this feels a little bit uncomfortable. It may have felt a little bit clunky to begin with, Mary, because like everything new, right? When we're driving a car for the first time, it's like, oh my God, you know, everything always feels like that. But now you're like several years down the road, like off and running, working with this modality. What would you say to anybody that's watching this and is sitting on the fence and they're not too sure if this is for them, and they're not too sure if, well, actually, is this going to really change things for me? Is this going to shift the needle for me or my clients? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I would say do it because it complements anything that you may already be doing, and you can incorporate the whole thing or elements of it into um, your practices. You just can't go wrong with it, really. Um, yeah, if you're on the fence, just do it because it really adds to things. I can't imagine doing what I'm doing now without it because it's such an integral part of moving people, like getting rid of what's in the way or making way to step through rather than being stuck behind it. So you can use it on yourself, you can use it on your family, you can use it on your friends, and you can help your clients. So there's so many people you can help with such a simple thing that once you've got it, you've got it. I did the refresher training because it'd been a while and it blew my mind because it really made me excited about it again. And where I am now compared to where I was, I felt like I locked it in this time properly because the mental chatter had gone away. So just honestly, just do it. You won't regret it. There's no way you'll regret it. No.
Amazing. So if anybody's interested, I have got training coming up in August, the 14th and 15th. It's 2 days of online training. It's from 12 till 6 p.m. British summer time. Keep an eye on, I'll drop the links below, but I do regular trainings throughout the year. You may see Mary again for some refresher training because you'll always be welcome to come in and rejoin Mary. And if you join, you'll certainly see her in the Facebook support group. So Mary, I would like to finish. I'm going to drop your links below here as well. Thank you so much for joining me today. Where can people find you if they're interested in working with you? Maybe tell us a little bit more about the other services that you offer as
Yeah, yeah, thank you. So I'm a soul-led empowerment coach, and I just help women who feel that disconnection from themselves, they're unfulfilled, a bit like how my journey went when I was in my previous uh, roles. And you just don't know what you're doing. You feel like you want to do something different, but you don't know how to get there. The fear holds you back. It's like, well, I can't do that. And it's stopped before you even get anywhere. And it's just helping women transition and just find who they are here, who they really are, find that joy and live a life aligned with them and not what everybody else wants you to be doing. So yeah, absolutely just love that because I know so many women have so much potential and I just want to open the way for these ladies. So yeah, you can find me on Instagram. So if you put in marylintott.soulguide and the same on Facebook or Mary Lintott Soul Guide on Facebook. So I'm on those two things.
Mary, thank you so much for being so generous with your time and your energy today. And check this lady out because she has got a heart of gold. And I'm very, very grateful that you chose me as your trainer, that you're in my world. And I wish you all the very best and all the most incredible transformations ahead for you and your clients, Mary.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.